Good. Okay. Thank you, council, for the special meeting, March 13th. The only thing on the agenda for today is the sheriff with the jail. And it's kind of imperative that we did this. I explained to most of you that we have a special meeting on this, just for the issues. And I'm going to let Greg explain the issues or what's going on.
First of all, thank you all. So it's no secret that we have a really hard time keeping employees at the jail. I mean, I feel like sometimes it's almost every meeting I'm asking for permission to hire somebody at the jail. Currently, we are 5 officers, 5 jail officers short over there, which really puts us, it puts us in a bind. And you know, since I've been sheriff, I got the jail fully staffed one time, and I got all excited, and that lasted less than a week. It was like 5 days or something like that. Somebody quit, but and we have researched, because when we hit that, we went back and looked, and it had been it basically has been 10 years since the jail has been fully staffed for any length of time whatsoever. Especially on the female officer side of things, it's very difficult. It has been for several years. But regardless, right now we're 5 short, and we've operated basically for 3 years, a couple of officers short all the time. It seems like we make do when we're 2 or 3 short, but once we get to this 4 or 5 mark, things like that, we start really taxing the overtime. It burns out the guys and ladies that are having to work all the time in that stressful environment anyway. So, you know, it increases, like I said, our overtime, our burnout, the stress. And then, you know, it's just not a glorious job anyway. We deal with, you know, the proper way to say this, but, you know, more and more severe mental folks that are fighting the mental illness and things that are in there, and that leads to you know, they're more aggressive. I've had 4 officers get hurt this year on just seemingly just where the inmate snap like that. Just last week nobody got hurt, but just last week Bedford had brought somebody in and they're booking him in, and all of a sudden he just literally, for no reason, I watched the video, things are calm, and all of a sudden he just snaps, jumps over the counter and attacks the officer that was there, and it took 3 officers to get him back under control. I had a female jail officer that went in to remove a lunch tray from a seg cell that he wouldn't pass back out. It was her and a male officer went in there, and ended up a fight ensued. She broke her nose and she ended up having surgery. And I had a jail officer at the end of last year, towards the end of last year, got bit and ended up with MRSA and in the hospital for a few days for the infection from that. So it's just, I mean, it's not a glamorous job. It's kind of a rough job. It's getting harder and harder. And really, just in the last 3 years, the information I kind of give you ahead of time, but we've lost 38 jail officers in 3 years. We went through 38. Now, 15 of those were for disciplinary issues where I either fired them or they resigned before I fired them. But I think that goes to, number one, it goes to the fact that, you know, we have high standards. I hold everybody at high standards. Just because we're short, I'm not going to, you know, turn my back on those standards. But it also goes to, I think, sometimes we find ourselves in a bind and we take a chance on somebody that probably wouldn't have, you know, and we end up with some people in there that, you know, have to do disciplinary stuff on. So,
Sheriff, may I ask a question?
Yeah.
On that number 6 right there.
Okay.
23 of the officers who left for higher pay or because of mental health stress issues.
Yeah, so I've had a
Can you
couple
break
of-
that out?
What's that?
Can you break that out for me?
On how many of each of those are? No, I know for sure that I've had at least 3 that I can think of off the top of my head that just said that, like, I cannot handle the stress. This is bad for my mental health on the personal side of things.
Yeah.
Like all you guys, but I can't do it. So that's that. We lost, right at the end of the last year, the first of this year, we lost two really tenured officers. We lost one that had been there for 11 years. And he left and took a job in the private sector in IT. He'd been taking classes to do some IT stuff, but he ended up finally leaving to do that to make more money. And then I had another one that had been there since before I started, a year or so before I started, and he left to go work at Bartholomew County. And his pay rate was going to right up about $20,000 is what he was going to make to go over there and be a jail officer.
Was he gonna move or just drive back?
So he's actually originally from over that way, and so he and his wife works with the state police as dispatch. So he and his wife were gonna move somewhere
Yeah,
kind of closer over
Yeah.
there anyway. And then just I really thought before I should invite you guys to come over and sit through some of our interviews with some of our applicants. It's just I mean, we get some good employees. I'm not saying that we don't, but we go through a lot of, it takes us a while to
get a good
fill
one.
a spot or two. You know, we have, most of the people that apply oftentimes can't even pass the written test and then the interview itself. And then, then we have those that can't pass the background investigation. So those are all things we don't, we don't turn our backs on. I mean, we don't just take people, retake them. So, I just worry that with the openings, the quality of the applications that we get sometimes, that opens the county up to a lot of liability stuff. We all know the jail is probably the most likely to get the county sued. In January, you guys gave me permission to hire my 3 openings then. And I actually thought I hit the lottery, and it just absolutely fell perfect. And I hired